For as long as humans have been concerned about appearance, targeting belly fat has been a priority and something exercise science has compared to a Nigerian prince's inheritance. It's probably a scam. There are hundreds of thousands of studies on lowering cholesterol and reducing visceral fat. So when I came across a 2024 study that said participants on average lost 6.2 pounds over 8 weeks on 40 grams a day of high amylose resistant starch, and MRI scans shown that a disproportionate amount of the weight loss came from visceral fat without cutting calories or changing their exercise routine. So for 90 days, I consumed 70 grams of high maize resistant starch. I did a body fat analysis scan using a DEXA scan. I did a couple tests on the in-body machine to analyze my body fat percentage and lean muscle mass, which the results were shocking over the 90 days. I was not expecting exactly what happened. Now, on top of that, I also did a couple blood tests before and after to check my cholesterol levels. According to the same research, this particular resistant starch led to a 5 to 10% drop in total and LDL cholesterol. So is this white powder the ultimate belly fat miracle? Or is this just another gateway drug to disappointment? Let's find out. So what the heck is high maize resistant starch anyways? High amylose maize resistant starch, commercially sold, trademarked, registered as high maize resistant starch. It's a specialized type of dietary starch. It just tastes like starch. It's made from traditionally bred, non-GMO, high amylose corn. Unlike regular cornstarch, which your body breaks down into glucose, this starch contains an unusually high amount of amylose. It's around 50 to 70% or more. This particular brand sits roughly at 60%. Think of amylose like a slow burning log in a fire. While regular starch is kind of like crumbling up a newspaper and throwing it on fire, burns instantly. Regular starch gives you that quick burst of sugar. This stuff takes hours to break down in your body, which in turn keeps your blood sugar from spiking. It's less soluble in water than other branched starches. If I just let this sit, it will just float to the bottom. It resists quick breakdown by enzymes, kind of acting like a slow release carbohydrate for the portion that actually gets processed. I'll talk a little bit more about that. It promotes a gradual release of glucose into the bloodstream, unlike regular starches. So things like basmati and jasmine rice, along with beans and lentils, are also high in amylose. So all of that being said, this specific starch passes through your lower intestine without breaking down, acting like a dietary fiber in your large bowel. Along with everything else I mentioned, it's been shown to improve gut health, lower blood sugar responses, and support metabolic health. So this stuff is hard to find. For some reason, it's mostly a commercial product. There are other high quality resistant starches. Green banana flour is one of them. But the study that I'm working off of specifically uses this stuff. High maize 260 resistant starch. I could buy it directly from the company, but it comes in like something like 40 pounds or something like that. And it's hundreds and hundreds of dollars. I found one distributor that you can change the different sizes. I'm gonna order 15 pounds. That's gonna be plenty for the test, even a few screw ups. So my thoughts on the test. What do I think is going to happen? I have a good feeling this is gonna work. The results of the study seemed pretty concrete. Now, in the study, they were using all obese people, but I still think I'm going to see some changes. I have hereditary high cholesterol. That's the only explanation the doctors can give me. My diet's pretty good. I've tried literally everything other than just taking a statin or red yeast rice, which is essentially just a statin. Except one fun story, when I was a child, I was on a statin. I was on a cholesterol medication. I hated it. My mom would break it open and pour the little beads over top of my applesauce. And I had a heck of a lot of applesauce, but I lowered my cholesterol and it kind of got to a point to where it remained steady for most of my life. Now it's pretty high. I'm gonna give myself 1 week to build up before I start the 90 days. So I'm gonna start with like 5 grams, then do 10 grams and 15 grams and just kind of build up quickly, but I just don't want to start immediately with the full 70 gram dose. So speaking of 70 grams, why am I doing 70 grams when the study said 40 grams? So the study actually references 40 grams of pure resistant starch. If you need 40 grams of pure resistant starch a day, that would be 70 grams of the high maize resistant starch. 40% is digestible starch. So I have my first DEXA scan and blood test tomorrow. I'm really excited about that. So let's talk about that. But first, you all have seen me talking about Miracle Made sheets for a couple of years now. It used to be the ad where I laid in bed and I talked about how good my sleep is. I would always say, if you wake up too hot or too cold, I highly recommend you check out Miracle Made bed sheets. And I still stand by that today. I'm still using them years later. Miracle Made sheets are inspired by NASA and use silver-infused fabrics that are temperature regulating, so you can sleep at the perfect temperature all night long. And they actually help prevent up to 99.7% of bacterial growth. So your sheets feel cleaner and fresher up to 3 times longer than other sheets, which that means fewer odors and fewer wash cycles. And they feel nice, if not nicer than sheets used by some 5-star hotels. They are luxuriously comfortable, without the high price tag of other luxury brands. I used to wake up in the middle of the night way too hot. I live in Florida, so the room was always hot. And I've talked about how important sleep quality is. I would always be uncomfortable until I found Miracle Made's bed sheets. So gang, upgrade your sleep or give the gift of better rest. Go to trymiracle.com/stache to try Miracle Made sheets today. You'll save over 40%. And when you use promo code STACHE, you'll get an extra 20% off plus a free 3-piece towel set. They make an amazing gift, and with a 30-day money-back guarantee, there's no risk. So gang, that's trymiracle.com/stache. Use code STACHE at checkout. Miracle Made, thanks for sponsoring today's video and for kicking off my better sleep. I cannot sleep without them. Thank you. So far, it's really not that bad. I mean, it doesn't taste great. It just kind of tastes like starch. I haven't had any like stomach discomforts in this little buildup. I've had a lot of farts, smelly farts. And just throw some water in it and just take it down. Not bad. We'll see what happens. Okay, so day 2 of resistant starch at full dose. I'm only doing the day 2 update because yesterday was a little different. I've noticed over the couple days that I was getting a little gassy, but it was just slight. And it wasn't like gas, like little toots. It was like a different kind of gas. I'm hoping that goes away because I don't think I'm going to be able to do that for 2 months. But I told my doctor about the resistant starch and she's excited because she wants to track my cholesterol levels. I'm never gonna get used to that taste. It just tastes like starch. I'm probably not gonna do a day 3 or 4 or 5 update. I'll wait till next week before the next update. So it's June 5th. I just went through my first batch, 1 whole container of the resistant starch. It hasn't been great. The gas is insane. I'm just farting nonstop. This is the toughest thing I've done. Over a month in, and still just tons of gas. Just tons of it doesn't let up. It's just unbelievable. But from what I've read, that supposedly means that the starch is doing its job. It's feeding my gut microbiome. We'll see. Week 13 is over. This is it. This is the last 35-gram dose. I'm done. Tomorrow is the DEXA scan. Friday is the blood test. The gas has just not gone away. It has been kind of miserable the whole time. The one thing I do want to talk about, I'm gonna put a little warning here. This is gonna be toilet commentary. The number 2 situations are very solid. Like, I've never seen number 2s like this in my life. Everything is consistent, one solid piece, very well put together, and moves quickly. I think that's a good thing, actually, because it seems from what I read about it, because I was like, this is disturbing about how consistent it got. It kind of built up as we went. I actually took a break just a couple weeks ago to do my potato week, but that has natural resistant starches, so I don't really think it had a whole lot of effect on the test. The bad thing for the test, and that I'm a little worried about with the outcome, is I actually gained weight. I started around 3 months ago at 165 or 166 pounds, and now I'm at around 170 pounds. My results that keep coming back from the in-body and even my winning scale are showing fat loss. So we'll see. The one thing that I think could be having some effect is I purposefully planned this test around after my London marathon. So I ran the London marathon at the end of April, and the plan was to take a year off until my next marathon was going to be Berlin in 2027. I actually got invited to run Berlin Marathon. I don't know if I've announced that yet, but I'm going to be running Berlin Marathon under a headphone brand that I'll mention here pretty soon. I'm so excited about it. But that means that during this test, I had to start my marathon training. Marathon training, high mileage, cortisol, things like that could affect belly fat. It sucks that I didn't get a clean test, and I definitely don't want to do it again. But I still believe that with the amount of time that I was doing the test, there should be some results. But that being said, I also don't think with marathon training that I put on a whole lot of muscle. I go to the gym and I work out pretty hard, but it is harder to put on muscle mass while you're running. So I feel like if I've gained weight, it's probably going to be a combination of maybe a little bit of fat. See what the DEXA scan says. Okay, it's been 3 days since my last drink of resistant starch, and life has been amazing. The gas has pretty much subsided. It's gone away pretty quick. I was surprised about how quick that went away. I figured that was gonna last for a few days after. I got my results from my DEXA scan and my blood work back. So first up, the DEXA scan. I'm pulling up my app here, DEXA Fit. On the day that I tested, I weighed 170.4 pounds. That is a 4.3 pound change. I gained 4.3 pounds. I was not expecting that. Now here's the big number, the one that we're really anticipating. Visceral fat. So visceral fat started at 0.96 pounds. I gained 0.23 pounds of visceral fat, ending up at 1.19 pounds of visceral fat. That was a bummer. But the shocking thing was my lean mass. Even with all of the running I did, I started at 125.8 pounds of lean mass. That is your muscle mass. I'm ending this test 3 months later at 130.3 pounds of muscle mass. I have gained 4.5 pounds of muscle in 3 months. Now, I know there's lots of variabilities that can happen. I tried to do my best to manage those variabilities by tracking my water intake the day before the test, tracking my carbohydrates the day before the test. I even did the same workouts and everything. I tried to keep everything exactly the same so that way I would end up with very similar results, fair results. And so this was kind of shocking. All in all, my body fat percentage did change. I did lose body fat. I went from 20% body fat to 19.4% body fat, which I'm pretty happy. That's a 0.5% difference. I was hoping for a little bit more, maybe 1 to 2% over 90 days, which I know would be dramatic from where I'm already at. 20% is already good. I would like to get down even more. Once I'm done with the Berlin Marathon, I am going to do a test with how to drop the remaining fat, how to get to that 15% body fat. It's gonna be later on another study altogether. The cholesterol is a completely different picture. I started this test with a total cholesterol of 265 mg/dl. My LDL was 185 mg/dl, which is pretty dang high. I know that. The ending cholesterol went from 265 to 236. The LDL started at 185 and dropped to 158, which is awesome. That's a huge drop, far more than what the study predicted. My cholesterol is still high, but that drop gives me some promise, some hope. Okay, so would I do this again? No, the gas was horrible. But after the test, I took about a week off, and then I started taking 35 grams of the high maize starch every single day. That's what I took this morning. That's about 15 to 20 grams of resistant starch daily, which is known as the minimum effective dose. So pretty much that just means it's still doing its job, but just not as intensely. So you still get the insulin sensitivity improvements. There was another study that showed 15 to 30 grams actually does that. And even the lower doses showed some gut microbiome effects. So there's also that benefit. The beneficial bacteria still keep getting fed, just a slower colonization rate kind of thing. The cholesterol benefits are still there, but it's just slower. It's reducing your cholesterol slowly over time, which is kind of what I'm aiming to do right now. I hope that after a year of taking this, that my cholesterol levels are completely normal and that I can just maintain them after that. One meta-analysis showed that for the LDL effects, you needed around 16 grams of resistant starch a day. So this dose falls well within that. So yeah, this was a test. I was very much looking forward to it being done. And I'm excited that I did it. I'm wondering if we're going to start seeing more resistant starch products on the market. I don't know if I'm going to point anybody in the direction. I guess if you're interested, you can ask me for the link. That's why I don't want to make it seem like I'm selling this product, because I'm not. This is just something that I wanted to test because of the study. Right now, I'm currently doing oatmeal every morning for 30 days. I'm doing overnight oats. I kind of want to test the effect of that. I'm a couple weeks in. So let me know what you think might happen with the oatmeal. I'm excited about that one. I think that's gonna be pretty cool. And if you like these videos, please click the subscribe button. I'm doing everything that I can so that way I can show you how I live and changed my life to be a healthy and happy life, and hopefully I can motivate you to do some of the same things. Maybe not eat resistant starch every day, but take a small step like having a little bit of extra resistant starch from like the rice or lentils or legumes. I will see you in the next one.